Hello everyone, this is Asra Sultana, Assistant Professor in EEE Department, working in ISL Engineering College. I am going to take the subject High Voltage DC Transmission for EEE final year students, that is CBCS 8th SEM. So today's class we are going to see about the introduction to the subject, what are the various units and what are the various syllabus, what is the course outcome and course objective. Okay. So let us first begin with the introduction. What is the definition of HVDC? Okay, high voltage direct current power systems will use DC for transmission of bulk power over long distances. Okay, so what is high voltage DC? High voltage direct current power system will use DC power for transmission of bulk power. Okay, we require bulk power because so with the industrial growth of a nation will require increased consumption of electrical energy. So this has led to the increase in the generation and transmission, mm, so that it can be the increasing demand can be met. Okay. So for long distance power transmission, HVDC lines are less expensive and losses will be less as compared to AC transmission, and it will interconnect the networks that have different frequencies and characteristics. So in AC transmission, alternating waves of voltage and current will travel in line, which will change its direction every millisecond. So due to which losses will occur in the form of heat. So what is AC? Already we have seen this. Okay. So AC will change its direction from positive to negative in every millisecond. So because of which losses will occur in the form of heat. Okay. So unlike AC lines, voltage and current waves will not change their direction in case of DC. Okay. So in case of DC, the direction will not be changed. Direction will be same. So HVDC lines will increase the efficiency of transmission lines, because of which power will be rapidly transferred. So in a combined AC and DC system, generated AC voltage will be converted into DC at the sending end. Then DC voltage will be converted to AC at the receiving end. So what is happening here is that, so there will be two stations here. One will be the inverter station and another will be rectifier station. So rectifier station will be at the sending end and inverter station will be at the receiving end. So DC transmission will require two conversion at two ends, that is at sending end and receiving end. Sending end we have to convert AC to DC, and at receiving end we have to convert uh, DC to AC. So AC to DC is rectifier, and DC to AC is inverter. So two stations we require, that is rectifier station and inverter station. Okay, sending end and receiving end. So what is happening? DC voltage is converted to AC at the receiving end for distribution purposes. Okay, that is invert. That is nothing but what inverter station. Okay. So conversion and inversion equipment are needed at the two ends of the line. That is at the sending end and at the receiving end. The conversion or we can say it as a rectifier. Okay, rectifier station. Okay, so rectifier and inverter we are required at the sending and receiving end. So HVDC transmission will be economical only for long distance transmission lines which is having a length more than 600 kilometers, and it is used for underground cables of length more than 50 kilometers. So high voltage will be used for electric power transmission to reduce the energy lost in the resistance of the wires. Okay, so high voltage is used for transmission of power which will reduce the energy lost in the resistance of the wire, and for a given quantity of power transmitted, if you double the voltage, same power will be delivered with half the current. Okay, since the power lost is in the form of heat, so the power loss will be directly proportional to the square of the current, and which will double the voltage and reduces the line losses by factor of 4. While power lost in transmission can also be reduced by increasing conductor size, so larger conductors will be heavier and they are more expensive. Okay, high voltage cannot readily be used for lighting or motors. So transmission level voltages should be either decreased or reduced. Okay, decrease or reduced for end use equipment. So you have to decrease this high voltage to the voltage which we use it. Okay, the consumers will use a voltage in single phase or three phase voltage. So we have to reduce that high voltage to this end use to end use equipment. Okay, so transformers will be used to change the level of voltage in alternating current transmission circuits. So transformers made voltages changes practical, and AC generators will be more efficient than those using DC. So these advantages has led to early low voltage DC transmission systems and in the 20th century. Okay, so in the earlier 20th century, we used to have only low voltage DC transmission system. Okay, so practical conversion of power between AC and DC became possible with the development of power electronic devices. So what exactly we are telling here that so conversion of power between AC and DC became possible with the development of various power electronic devices like mercury arc valves, so which are started in 1970s, and semiconductor devices such as thyristors, integrated gate commutated thyristors, that is IGCTs, MOS controlled thyristors, that is MCTs, and insulated gate bipolar transistors, IGBT. So with this invention of these power electronic devices, practical conversion of power between AC and DC became possible. So now let us see the course objectives of the subject high voltage DC transmission. So first one is to study the fundamentals of HVDC transmission system and converters. Okay, our first objective is to study the fundamentals of HVDC transmission systems and converters. So converters can be rectifiers, inverters, etc. Okay, so as we have seen, that is we require rectifier at sending end and inverter at receiving end. Second one is to understand the control aspects of HVDC system. Okay, controlling is required, so that will be in third unit. Okay, third unit we can see the control, how to control HVDC system. Okay, third one is power conversion between AC to DC and DC to AC, and fourth one is to deal with firing angle and protection of HVDC system. Now let us see the what are the course outcomes. So we have seen now course objectives, now course outcomes. So after completing this course, students will be able to understand the concept of HVDC along with applications, different kinds, planning and modern trends. Okay. So what are the modern trends you have to know so that you will understand after the completion of this course. Comparison with HVDC including corona losses. Then second one is understanding the properties of converter circuits and analyzing bridge converter circuits with and without overlap for HVDC application including inverter operation. Okay, second one is we have to understand the inverter operation for HVDC application. Third one is demonstrate knowledge in the control aspects of HVDC systems. Fourth one, understanding different types of faults and protection aspects of HVDC systems. What are the various faults and all we have to do it in. Okay, and fifth one is acquire conceptual knowledge in applications of MTDC systems and their control. So let us see what are the contents of unit 1. That is first we are going to see the general consideration of DC and AC transmission systems. So we have to first compare AC and DC transmission systems. So while comparing AC and DC transmission systems, we have to see the three factors, that is economics of power transmission, technical performance and reliability. So based on these three factors, that is economics of power transmission, technical performance and reliability, we are going to compare AC and DC transmission systems. Then we are going to see about application of DC transmission, economic consideration, kinds of DC links, planning for HVDC transmission, modern trends, and corona loss in AC and DC system. Second unit deals with converter circuits. So various converter circuits with their properties, different kinds of arrangement, analysis of bridge converter with grid control, with and without overlap angle, equivalent circuit of rectifier. Then we have to go see about operation of inverter and its equivalent circuit. So basically we are going to see about rectifier and inverter, their operating principle, their equivalent circuit and their properties. Third unit deals with the control. What are the basic means of control, limitations of manual control, desired features of control, combined characteristics of rectifier and inverter, power reversal, constant minimum ignition angle and constant current control, constant extension angle control. Okay. Fourth unit deals with the protection, that is short circuit current, arc back, commutation failure, bypass valves, DC reactors, DC circuit breakers, and protection against over voltages. Okay, protection against over voltages and harmonic filters. So all these protection equipment we are going to study in fourth unit. Fifth unit deals with MTDC system, that is multi-terminal DC systems. What are its types, what are the applications, and comparison of series and parallel MTDC systems, and how to control MTDC system. Okay, students, these are the 5 units we are going to deal in HVDC transmission systems. First one was general consideration of DC and AC transmission systems. Okay, then second one is converter circuits. Third one is control. Fourth one is about protection. Fifth one is about multi-terminal DC systems. So now we are going to see what are the various suggested readings for this subject. So first one is, this is given in the syllabus of your curriculum, students. In the curriculum it is given 3 textbooks, that is direct current transmission by Kimbark EW, and second one is HVDC power transmission systems by KR Padiyar, and third one is HVDC transmission by Arilaga J and Peter Peregrines Limited. So students, I am going to take the subject from second textbook, that is HVDC Power Transmission Systems by Padiyar KR. So in this textbook you can find all 5 units. Okay, students. Uh, so this elective is easier also compared to other electives. So you can have a very good knowledge about power systems by studying this subject, and also you can score good marks in this subject. So now let us see how does a HVDC transmission system works. Okay, so in generating substation, AC power will be generated and which can be converted into DC by using a rectifier. So in the generating a substation, what is happening? Power which is getting generated is of AC type. So we are converting that AC into DC by using a rectifier. Okay, HVDC substation or converter substation, rectifiers and inverters will be placed at both the ends of the line. Okay, at both the ends, rectifier and inverters will be placed in a HVDC substation. So rectifier terminal will change AC to DC, while inverter terminal will change DC to AC. So sending end rectifier will be there, receiving end inverter will be there. Rectifier will convert AC to DC, inverter will convert DC to AC. So DC will be flowing with the overhead lines, and at the user end, again DC is converted into AC by using inverters, which will be placed in converter substation. So power will remain the same at the sending and receiving ends of the line. DC is transmitted over long distances because it will decrease the losses and improve the efficiency. So why we are using a DC HVDC transmission system? So this is our question. So answer is that losses will be decreased and efficiency will be increased. Once the losses are decreased, the efficiency is automatically increased. Okay, students. So that is why we are going for a HVDC transmission system. So this is a HVDC substation layout. First, you can see here power grid or network, then a converter station, and and here also one converter station, and this is second power grid. First power grid, second power grid, for converter station, converter station 2. Then these are the overhead lines. So here transformer, HVDC transformer converter. Here rectifier and HVDC transformer. So this is sending end, receiving end. Okay, students. So system having more than 2 converter stations and 1 transmission line is called as two-terminal DC system or point-to-point system. Similarly, if the subsystem has more than 2 converter stations and interconnecting DC terminal lines, then it is called as multi-terminal DC substation. So this multi-terminal DC substation we are going to see in fifth unit. Okay. So what is a two-terminal DC system? System having more than 2 converter stations and 1 transmission line is called as two-terminal DC system. And a substation having more than 2 converter stations and interconnecting DC terminal lines, then it is called as multi-terminal DC substation. That is MTDC. Now let us see about the economic distance for HVDC transmission lines. So DC lines will be cheaper than the AC lines, but the cost of these DC terminal equipment will be very high as compared to AC terminal cables. See, comparison of cost of AC and DC transmission as we are going to see in this graph. Okay. So DC lines will be much cheaper than the AC lines, but cost of DC terminal equipment is very high as compared to AC terminal cables. Thus, initial cost is high in HVDC transmission system and it is low in AC system. So this can be taken as one of the disadvantage of HVDC transmission system, that the initial cost will be very high compared to AC system. Okay, students. So the point where two curves meet is called as break-even distance. Okay, these two curves. This is DC line cost curve and this is AC line cost curve. And the point where these two curves meet is called as break-even distance. And above the break-even distance, HVDC system will become cheaper. Okay, and break-even distance changes from 500 to 900 kilometer in overhead transmission lines. See here, this is break-even distance and this is AC terminal cost and this is DC terminal cost. So break-even distance will change from 500 to 900 kilometers in overhead transmission lines. So now let us see the advantages of HVDC transmission systems. First one is lesser number of conductors and insulators are required and hence cost of the overall system will be reduced. Okay, so in HVDC less number of conductors are required, so conductors and insulators less are required, so cost of the overall system will be reduced. And it requires less face-to-face and ground-to-ground clearance, and the towers are less costlier and hence they are cheaper. And the corona loss will be less as compared to HVAC transmission lines of similar power. Power loss will be reduced with DC because fewer number of lines are required for power transmission. Okay, whereas in AC we require many lines, whereas in DC we require only few lines. 2 lines are required, whereas in AC we require 3 or 4 lines. So number of lines required for power transmission will be reduced. Now next we will see the advantage of HVDC transmission is that HVDC system will use earth return. That is, if any fault occurs in one pole, other pole with earth return will behave like an independent circuit. So this system will become more flexible. Okay, so this is called as earth return. HVDC system uses earth return. HVDC has asynchronous connection between two AC stations connected through an HVDC link. That is, transmission of power will be independent of sending frequencies to receiving end frequencies. So it will interconnect two substations with different frequencies. So what we are telling here that HVDC will have the asynchronous connection between two AC stations connected through HVDC link. That is, transmission of power will be independent of sending frequencies to receiving end frequencies. So it will interconnect two substations with different frequencies. Now let us see the 8th advantage, that is, due to the absence of frequency in the HVDC line, losses like skin effect and proximity effect does not occur in the system. So as there is no frequency in DC system, that is as we have seen in AC system, skin effect and proximity effect will occur in AC, whereas these will not occur in case of DC. So this is an advantage of HVDC transmission system. Next is it does not generate or absorb any reactive power. So there is no need for reactive power compensation. So already we have seen about reactive power compensation, previous subject, power system operation and control we have seen about compensation. Okay, so now as there is no reactive power, so you know what is active power, what is reactive power, what is apparent power. So no reactive power and hence we don't require any reactive power compensation. Okay, that will require additional circuits, additional so many devices we have seen it earlier classes. So that is not there now here. No reactive power and hence no reactive power compensation. The very accurate and lossless power flows through DC link. Okay, through DC link, very accurate and lossless power will flow. Now let us see various disadvantages of DC HVDC transmission. First one is converter substations will be placed at both the sending and receiving end of the transmission lines which will result in increasing the cost. Okay, so first one is that as we are placing converter substations at both the receiving end and the sending end, so rectifier is required at sending end and inverter is required at the receiving end, so cost will be also increased. Second one is inverter and rectifier terminals generate harmonics which can be reduced by using active filters which are also expensive. So to reduce the harmonics which are generated by inverter and rectifier, we require filters. Filters are also expensive. Hence cost is increased. Okay. So main disadvantage of HVDC is that initial cost is more. Okay. If a fault occurs in the AC substation, it may result in a power failure for the HVDC substation placed near to it. So whenever there is a fault in AC substation, it will result in power failure for HVDC substation which is near to this AC substation. Okay. And next is inverter used in converter substations have limited overload capacity. So the inverter which we are using here in HVDC system will have a limited overload capacity. Circuit breakers are used in HVDC for circuit breaking, which is also very expensive. We are using circuit breakers here for protection purpose, so which is expensive. It does not have transformer for changing the voltage level. So transformers are not used in DC systems. Okay, they are used in AC, whereas in DC transformers are not used for changing the voltage level. So heat loss occurs in converter substation which has to be reduced by using active cooling system. Heat loss will occur in converter substation which has to be reduced by using the active cooling system. So because of this heat, uh, uh, so losses will occur, and hence to reduce this heat, or so we are using a cooling system. Then HVDC link itself is also very complicated. Okay, HVDC link, when we see it in the coming classes, so there you can see that it is complicated. Okay, so students, I hope everyone understood advantages and disadvantages. Now let us see the conclusion. Okay, so by considering all the advantages of DC, it seems that HVDC lines are more proficient than AC lines. But okay, so they are more proficient than AC lines HVDC, but their initial cost of HVDC substation is very high, and their substation equipment is also quite complicated. Okay, this is the conclusion. So for long distance transmission, it is preferable that power will be generated in AC, and for transmission it is converted into DC and then again converted back to AC for final use. So this system is economical and also improves the efficiency of the system. So what we have concluded here, that both AC and DC we can utilize and make the system as economical, and efficiency of the system can be improved. That is, for long distance transmission, power can be generated in AC transmission. For transmission, it is to be converted to DC and then again converted back to AC for final use, because we use it in the form of AC. Okay, when we are using the power, we are using it in the form of AC. So then this system will be economical, and hence efficiency of the system can be improved. So I hope everyone understood this introductory class of HVDC transmission. Okay. Okay, students. So what we have studied in this class. So we have seen about the introduction to the subject. So what are the various units of this subject we have seen? That is, unit 1 is dealing with general consideration of DC and AC transmission systems, and unit 2 is dealing with converter circuits, unit 3 is dealing with the control, unit 4 protection, unit 5 multi-terminal DC systems. Okay, students. Then introduction, what we have seen, that HVDC or correct high voltage direct current power systems will use DC for transmission of bulk power over long distances. Uh, and for long distance power transmission, HVDC lines are less expensive and losses are less as compared to AC transmission. It will interconnect the networks that have different frequencies and characteristics. Okay, students. Then we have seen uh, the history of this HVDC, that practical conversion of power between AC and DC became possible with the development of power electronic devices like mercury arc valves, which have started in 1970s, semiconductor devices such as thyristors, integrated gate commutated thyristors, IGCTs, MOS controlled rectifiers, MOS controlled thyristors, that is MCTs, and insulated gate bipolar transistor, IGBT. Okay. So when we see the history of the HVDC transmission, so the electromechanical systems, there are electromechanical system, mercury arc valves, and thyristor valves, capacitor commutated converters, voltage source converters. Okay. So first, when we see the electromechanical systems, first long distance transmission of electrical power was demonstrated using direct current in 1882 at Maisbach Munich power transmission, but only 1.5 kilowatt was transmitted. An early method of HVDC transmission was developed by Swiss engineer René Thury, and his method was put into practice by 1889 in Italy by Acquedotto di Ferrari Galleria Company. So this system used series connected motor generator sets to increase the voltage, and each set was insulated from electrical ground and driven by insulated shafts from a prime mover. So transmission line was operated in a constant current mode with up to 5000 volts across each machine, and some machines having double commutators to reduce the voltage on each commutator. And this system transmitted 630 kilowatt at 14 kV DC over a distance of 120 kilometers. So, various other electromechanical devices were tested during the first half of 20th century with little commercial success. So, one technique attempted for conversion of direct current from high transmission voltage to lower utilization voltage was to charge series connected batteries, then reconnect the batteries in parallel to serve distribution loads. So, at least two commercial installations were tried around the turn of 20th century, and the technique was not generally useful owing to the limited capacity of batteries and difficulties in switching between series and parallel connections, and the inherent energy inefficiency of a battery charge or discharge cycle. So a modern battery storage power station will include transformers and inverters to change energy from alternating current to direct current forms at appropriate voltages. Then we have seen the advent of mercury arc valves. So it was first proposed in 1914, and the grid controlled mercury arc valve became available for power transmission during the period 1920 to 1940. So mercury arc valves require an external circuit to force the current to zero and thus turn off the valve. In HVDC applications, AC power system itself provides the means of commutating the current to another valve in the converter. So converters built with a mercury arc valve are known as line commutated converters, LCC. LCC requires synchronous machines in the AC systems to which they are connected. So making mercury arc valves were common in systems designed up to 1972. Then came thyristor valves. So since 1977, new HVDC systems have used only solid state devices, in most cases thyristors. Like mercury arc valves, thyristors require connection to an external AC circuit in HVDC applications to turn them on and off. So HVDC using thyristors is known as line commutated converter, that is LCC HVDC. So development of thyristor valves for HVDC began in late 1960s. First complete HVDC scheme based on thyristor was the Eel River scheme in Canada, which was built in the year 1972. Then came capacitor commutated converter and voltage source converter. Okay, so capacitor commutated converters differs from a conventional HVDC system in that it has series capacitors inserted into AC line connections either on the primary or secondary side of converter transformer. And voltage source converters are widely used in motor drives since 1980s, and voltage source converters started to appear in HVDC 1997 with the experiment project in Sweden. So by the end of 2011, this technology had captured significant proportion of HVDC market. So I hope everyone have understood what exactly is HVDC, what is the history of HVDC, what are the advantages and disadvantages of HVDC. Okay, students. So I hope this lecture is clear to everyone. So we have seen about course outcomes, course objectives, and what are the contents of 5 units of a syllabus. So students, you can refer a textbook, that is HVDC Power Transmission Systems by Padiyar. All 5 units are there in this book. Thank you everyone for watching the video. I hope this is clear to everyone. So once again, I want to see about the conclusion. So when we consider all the advantages of DC, HVDC lines are more proficient than AC lines, but the major disadvantage of HVDC is that initial cost is very high compared to AC, because substation equipment is also complicated. Okay, so for long distance transmission, it is preferable that power is generated in AC, then for transmission it has to be converted into DC, and then again converted back to AC to final use. Okay students, I hope this is clear to everyone. Thank you everyone for watching the video.